All right. Happy Thursday, everyone. Corey Strothman here, graceinyourcorner.com. I was getting ready to sit down and do a vlog, and I decided, you know what? Instead of doing it through YouTube, I can't do live streaming YouTube just yet. Why not go ahead and just skip that step and go straight to Facebook, and it'll be posted there. So, want to talk to you a little bit about the phrase, let go and let God today. And that is one that comes up quite a bit when people have discussions and when they're talking about getting through things. And I really wanted to question and encourage you to take a deeper thought about that. What does that mean to you, let go and let God? And we'll get to all of that, and I'll give you some of my thoughts here in just a second. But I want to start off with just a few announcements to get through some things. Number one, I would just like to say welcome to all the new followers. Some of you probably saw me add you up and didn't think twice about it. The others probably didn't even know who I was, probably still don't know who I am. And really, you know what? I'm just trying to connect with as many people as I can. And if I don't know you that well, if you thought that it was odd that, who is this guy that was born back in Bern, Kansas, but is in Kansas City, he's adding me up. I'm just trying to spread the message. I'm just trying to get it out there. I hope throughout all of this that we have the opportunity to connect a little bit better. But the one thing that I know is the more ears that the message can hit, the more hearts that it can help. And that means just getting it out there. Trying to have as many people be talking about it, creating that buzz as possible. Because one thing that I found out, and I knew, is that so many of you, and a lot of you that I don't know as well, you are touched in some sort of way by mental illness, by addiction, by divorce, by stress, by financial problems. And it's comforting to hear people talk about it. It's comforting to be able to lower the shield down and be able to have the discussion of, you know what, it impacts me too, and I'm glad that you said something. So welcome to everyone that has not been following along to this point. A couple other things is I want to talk a little bit about, number one, some cool gear that I have. So I've been posting, tonight's the night, everything came in today. I've got my shirts. If you notice right here, I've got a shirt that I'm going to be wearing when I go to speaking engagements. Thank you to Julie Keach and her team at Fully Promoted. Great people there. Got exactly what I want. They've been doing all their shirts and have done a great job with it. And then I want to show you this. These are the travel mugs that I was talking about with the sketched in laser printed Grace in Your Corner. So tonight, the winner will have their choice if they want the gray or the purple. Thank you to those that shared the message. You still have time. I'm not going to draw till later tonight. You can get on there and share. And if you do a couple reviews, some people did reviews today. Hey! Then you will have the opportunity to have many more entries into it. So yeah, and a couple other things is I just want to say, too, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to those that are helping spread the message. A special thank you that goes out to those that have contributed financially. I'm doing as much as I can there, but there are some barriers as I continue to look for work in the working field. I've kind of missed that. It's been almost 5 months, but it's really impacted things, and that money is going directly either to make the site where it can reach more people, or it is going to go back to something that I'll show you here. I talked about this. I posted it on the website, and these are just response cards. I'm calling them whatever you want, a support card, a comfort card, but these are cards that I'm going to send out 100% free. One thing that I did when I came back from rehab was I started to watch the news, and I started to watch it in a little bit different light. And I even got on the computer and would look for stories, first of all, that were very similar to mine, and then stories that maybe I hadn't experienced, but I know that they're probably going through an extremely rough time. And I would reach out to those people. I didn't expect a response. I'd shoot an email, social media, any way I could get a response from them, or make sure they could see it, I should say. So that's kind of where this is coming from right here is, I'm going to continue people that I think, need a hand there, a heart there to let people know that they aren't alone, that we care, and whenever they're ready to welcome us into their life and give the support they need, we're going to. But I want all of you to know that on the site, if you go there, and there's a link on our Facebook page, that if you have someone that you know is struggling, all you have to do is hit that link. You can go in there. There's like 3 questions. It's just, who is it? Give me a brief idea of what's going on. And you don't even have to. If it's confidential and you don't want to say, you just say, I think they'd appreciate a card. I can make it very generic. And I'm going to handwrite them and I'm going to send them out. I think that will go a long ways. And I encourage you to go on and don't be afraid to put those out there. You just have to tell me their address. I will get it in the mail. That's where some of the money goes. Big shout out to Jose from Moss Printing in Merriam, Kansas. Jose had started us off with the first 500 cards for free because he's behind our mission. So pretty cool about that. And then the last thing that I want to show you before we really dive into it is I'm really trying to get the public speaking part up and going. I'm not asking for compensation. Donations for the site are welcome. If they just cover gas mileage, that's fine. If they don't even want to cover that, I really don't care. But I want to get out there and I want to continue to let people know. We have a brochure created here. If you think there might be someone that, a group that might want to hear something about addiction or mental health, anything, I can give you brochures to mail out to them. It's got a huge list, if you can see right there, of topics that I can talk about that I feel very comfortable explaining in my life. It very clearly defines the mission of what we're trying to accomplish at Grace in Your Corner because, again, I can't emphasize enough. All of this stuff is great. We've got the brand on it, the bells and whistles. Yeah, that's fine. But that's not the main goal. The main goal is getting the word out there so we can help people that are in need. So we can be proactive and stop someone from going down the path that I went down because no one deserves to do that. So that was just a few things that I wanted to touch base with you. Also, YouTube channel has changed. Make sure you go to that, subscribe to that so I can do more features when we get a certain amount of subscribers. And we will go from there. But let's go back to let go and let God, because that term has come out of my mouth almost ad nauseum for a while since I've been back in Kansas City, and it's very comforting, and it's very simple. But it's so simple just to say that, and it is extremely hard to do. So I want you to think about it just a little bit, and since we are on live, I see some people going in. I can see the chat a little bit better today. Feel free to type in there. I've already asked a few people, and they say one of the hardest things to do when they have the most trouble of letting go and letting God is when they are asking to forgive somebody. They really have trouble. There's resentment there. Someone had mentioned that just repetition, doing the right thing over and over and over and over again, helps to when they get to that point that it's a little bit easier to let go, even though they had then followed that up with, it's still hard when they don't control it. And that's what you're giving up, is you're giving up control. Being vulnerable was another one that was listed. Just being vulnerable and putting yourself out there. And I can promise you I've been being vulnerable for 2 months now, and it gets easier and easier. It's not that difficult to do, and people become used to it, and it actually creates more conversation and sparks more dialogue for the future. But I want to talk to you first off about a little story. Here's how my day started today. So my parents raise cattle, and for Christmas we get a 1/4 pound of beef. And for those of you that don't know, 1/4 pound of beef is a lot of beef. It's a great gift. It was a week and a half ago I went out to the garage. I was going to grab some hamburgers so we could grill, and lo and behold, I did not see the light on it, and I did not hear it running. 2 bad signs. And when I opened up the deep freeze, it was raunchy. So we've got a lot of beef in there. Luckily, we've gone through most of it and are ready for our next round. But what are we going to do? So Lauren and I said, well, you know what? Let's just freeze it. So we freeze the meat, and we're going to get rid of it when it goes out with the trash this week. Well, we unplugged it again. It was all frozen, blood in there, frozen like ice. It was extremely disgusting. And we thought we unplugged it in time. Well, I go out there this morning. Our trash guy comes about 7:30, and it is still ice. So I am putting my hands in there. It's starting to get sloppy. Grotesque story. But I'm working and I'm getting upset and I'm becoming even more mad. And I get a shovel and I'm pounding on it like an ice pick, trying to pick away. And I grab a pound of ground beef there and one over here. And before you know it, I'm sweating. My shirt, I was just wearing a white Hanes t-shirt. It's got blood spots all over it. And I start to hit even harder. And I'm pounding through it. And before you know it, it's like the thunder of God. It's like Thor. I take this and I pound it down. Well, what do you think that I did? Of course, I went too far and I put a hole in the bottom of our deep freeze. Could have let go and let God a little bit earlier on that one. But, we can get worked up on simple, silly things. I didn't have to get that out before 7:30. I would have let it thaw a little bit more, I could have brought it to a different dumpster and we would have been just fine. But getting worked up in the moment is something that I continue to work on, and I think a lot of us do, and that's okay. But putting things back in perspective is what we need to be able to do. So for me, when I talk about letting go and letting God, it really has to do with things that I have no control over, and I'm ready just to surrender to the outcome that's going to happen, and God's going to be by our side. He's there. The outcome might not be what you want. I mean, it's hard to see in the moment. It's hard to see that the outcome that you finally arrived at is, really? God, I'm waiting on you for this long, and I sit there and I wash my hands, and that's what you do? But you have to be able to say fit spiritually so you can continue to not give yourself that extra anxiety. Too often in this world, and I'm guilty of it, we get worked up on things that are minute. We put all that stress and anxiety on ourselves, or, it is something that we can't control. For example, if you're getting ready to go out to a ball game and it is pouring rain, our anxiety starts to rise. We've been planning for this all week. We can't control that. Smile. Take a deep breath. Let go and let God have the plan of what He can do. I've witnessed this quite a bit recently too. One thing that I experienced was I was in San Diego last weekend with my family, and we get to the airport and we find out that our flight is delayed. So honestly, on the board it kept going 3:45. 2 minutes later, 4:45. 3:45, 4:45. It was a running joke that my dad would update on one and my brother would update on the opposite. But you could start to see people get very, very antsy. People do not like to be stuck at an airport. I'm not a huge fan of it myself. And this went on for a while. And then the next thing they tell us is, well, we're going to have mechanics work on the plane, but the mechanics aren't at the airport for some reason. Still don't know that, but they didn't have mechanics on site. And so we waited for like an hour for the mechanics to get on site. And if you just sit and watch around the room, people are getting more antsy, people are getting angry, people are starting to line up and go up and talk to the person that's checking them in for flights, who was there for maybe an hour before this even started, didn't even get in at the beginning of it, and they're yelling at him, they're screaming at him. I don't know what they want him to do, and he just has no control over that either. That only can make things worse. It can cause you to be unhealthy. It can cause more tension amongst the room. But there was a line of people, and he got on the intercom and he said as much as he knew. Hey, the mechanics are working on the plane. We're going to get you out of here as soon as we can. And people were still one by one in line. What else can you tell me? Well, you know that I got to get out of here. I've got to meet family back home. That gentleman would have flew him back home himself if he had a plane. But it's through observing that at times I realize that's not the person that I want to be. And I could guess that that's not the person that any of you would want to be either. Because it's ugly. The ugliness comes out of us. And, we get worked up for too much, for too little. And we have to find that balance of a deep breath. What does this really mean? How much does it actually impact us? And if it's not that much, then hopefully you have a support team that's right beside you that can try to, bring you back down to earth. If you need to go vent somewhere, we can do that in a civil manner too. But watching numerous people scream, I was like, man, if we ever had a room of people that need to let go and let God, this is it. So that was very interesting. And then today, so I started, here's my morning routine. I'll tell you a little bit about my morning routine. We get the kids, I'm doing summer boot camp with the kids, getting them some academics and things of that sort. And like clockwork, when it's time to start the blog, I'll sit down with my phone and I will text at least 4 people. What do I write about today? It takes me longer to figure out what I really want to write about unless I have a series of things going. So I was talking to my sister and Lauren, and I arrived at similar to this topic right here, and I started to type for a while, and then I just stopped. My phone rang, and I went over, and I didn't get to it in time, but it was my lawyer from the mess that I'm still in from my situation, and he had left a message and said, because my court date was finally today, June 13th. It had been pushed back twice already. The first time I wasn't that surprised. The second time I show up, and I don't even know. I'm thinking Law and Order type court in Johnson County, right? So I've got my suit, my tie. I walk in, and there's like 12 lawyers on one side in a suit and tie, and there's people in jeans on the other side. I was dressed to the nines to where a guy came up and asked me if I could give him directions on what he needed to do. He thought I was a lawyer. Oh, goodness gracious. How he was surprised when he probably found out why I was there. But anyway, he called and said, you know what, they're just still not ready. The prosecutor, they don't have it quite ready to go. They're asking for some more time. And as I listened to that, I just was livid. I could not imagine that 5 months from an incident that you cannot be ready. We pushed it back. It's been 6 weeks since it got pushed back the last time. And I stewed about it. I sent a text, and when I'm upset with the text, I'll put a word in all caps. I'll do it. I will put a word in all caps when I get upset. And anyway, I started to think a little bit more about it, and there's absolutely no control over the outcome. What's done is done. Whether we have it today or whether we have it in 10 years, that outcome is going to be the same. There's no reason for me to get worked up and feel sorry for myself that I have to push back a court date again for an incident that I put myself in, for something that I did that I knew was not okay. They should make me wait as long as they want to. I don't have the right to be upset there. And I started to say, God, you know what? You tell me. You tell me when you think that I'm ready emotionally to go in that courtroom, to hear the judge give me a lecture about my actions. And maybe today wasn't the day. Maybe it would have struck a wrong chord with me, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to continue to grow professionally, personally, just as a human being. We have to take that perspective more often. And it's difficult to do, especially when you get caught up in the moment. But if there's some way, some skill, some strategy that if you've got an Apple Watch on and you see your heartbeat jumping up, there's a sign. But how can we take a step back from what we view as our current reality and look at a broader lens of the world and where we're at, and truly let go and let God? It's difficult. And then I will ask you the question of this. When is let go? When do we draw the line in the sand from let go and let God? I was talking to a friend, and he had an incident with someone that was coming out and working on his house, and they scammed him, and he caught him. I mean, they were scamming him of his money that he had worked for. And I don't even have an answer for this, but if anyone's watching and they want to type down there, is that a situation where you let go and let God? Do you just ignore it and pray for them and pray that they can become a better person? Or is that where you step up and you say something? Some people might go to the extreme and call Channel 5 problem solvers, and get them on the news. But that's a very difficult spot to be in, because if you don't say something and it kind of just blows over, then you could be putting someone else in that exact same spot. I would say I would lean towards addressing the situation in a calm manner, but being able to voice that, what you've done today is disappointing. It's really disgusting. I'm not going to make a huge deal out of this. I expect you to make things right. I am going to talk to your supervisor about that, because I know that his company, he expects better from his employees, and he views this whole thing as a working of him. So I think he has the right to know. But know that I'm not sitting here screaming and yelling at you, but God can help you find the light. And if this is really what you need to do to make an extra buck, then maybe you do need that money, and maybe I don't. But I think I would address it. But there's so many situations in life where I think it's very hard to find out if you can draw the foot in the sand, or if you truly just and let the big guy take control of it. And then the last thing I'll say about this topic, and I'll wrap it up, is that, as an elementary principal, I sadly can say that I probably got yelled at least once a day. And I think one time is probably on the low side of that. And it could be a stern talking to, or it could be an all-out across the phone, have to take I put my headset over here and I can still hear every single word they're saying. And called everything to the moon and back. But one thing that I pride myself on is I became very good at understanding that I'm catching this person in one moment of life that I have no idea what happened to them before. They could have just found out their house was robbed. They could have just found out that a loved one is in the hospital. They might have just been laid off from their job. I have no idea what led up to this frustration, and I might have got the boiling point. Yeah, I wish they wouldn't yell at me. But man, do I feel bad that they're at a point today that they feel that they need to scream at someone, that when I know they wake up tomorrow, they'll understand that it was really not the route to take. And my patience, it grew tremendously, and it grew with kids, and it grew with colleagues, and I was very excited about that. And out in the community, I would see things that I might have to do a double glance, and I would think, I don't think I would do it that way, but to each their own. And but I noticed that I was missing the mark on the biggest thing in the world when it came to this, and that's my loved ones. I was not giving my loved ones, and to this day, I still don't do a very good job of giving my loved ones the same grace that I give strangers that might be trying to push my buttons. I am quicker to snap. I am quicker to raise my voice. If I say something, I want them to understand it. I shouldn't have to explain it twice. I was like, what? If I took that approach as an elementary principal, ladies and gentlemen, I would have been out of that building a lot sooner. It's just not the way you treat people. And I've talked about this before too. It's like when you go to a grocery store, if someone bumps into you in a cart, man, we bend over backwards. We act like they're the sweetest person, the sweetest little old lady ever. And, we're smiling and we're chuckling as we walk away. Well, Lauren bumps into me in the kitchen when I have a full glass of milk. I'm going to address it. Man, honey, I'm right here. Can you not see me? And man, they don't deserve that. They deserve the most love for me. They're the ones that are in my everyday life, and my parents and my friends. But I'm not quick enough to give them the grace that they deserve. And I openly admitted, and this was hard for me the other night, that I openly admitted to Lauren that I had a conversation with a gentleman talking about work and kind of where he thought my future was going. And I had a conversation with this gentleman, and this is what he told me. And Lauren was kind of shocked. And I was too, but I let it roll off my shoulder. I thought the conversation was going great, just because I was getting in and I was connecting. But then I looked at her and I said, you know what, honey? If I would have replaced him and I would have slid you in there, I would have reacted a completely different way. And man, that bothers me. I would have became defensive a lot quicker. And I've thought about it a lot, and I think one of the main reasons is that the ones that are closest to me, I value their decision, their opinion, the absolute most. And to think that I might not be meeting their expectations, it's quicker to trigger me to find an escape route, to find avoidance. And it might be that if I snap back, then the conversation dies off. That's not the way to go. At home, I need to let go and let God. They deserve the best of the best, just like everyone else does. And it's something that I work on every day, and I hope that when you think about and you reflect with what let go, let God means to you, my mother wears a let go, let God bracelet every day. And it's a lot. But it's a great reminder, just like the wristbands that I hand out. The message is powerful that it brings. It's more than a bracelet. It's a constant reminder. Hey, Julie Keach, look at this right here. I was so excited I had to do a video with my new shirt on. Thank you for that. But so, I will wrap it up with that. And I just want you to think about, what is the hardest thing for you when you really know that you need to let go and let God, but you can't? What do you think the underlying factor is for that? With all points of frustration, there's always something beneath the surface that we're either afraid to talk about, or we're either afraid to admit. If I think I'm going to look like a fool, it was very hard for me to talk about things. I would just keep my mouth shut. Someone had always told me, it's better to be a fool and keep your mouth shut than to talk and prove them right. And I for some reason I live by that a little bit, but it is something that you just have to figure out why it's causing you so much of those feelings and how you can handle it moving forward, because this is part of our mission. It's speaking up during uncomfortable times. It's being vulnerable. That word vulnerable, we're going to talk about that a lot. We cannot accomplish the work that we have to accomplish if we cannot have simple conversations. If we cannot have an open conversation with someone about life and the truth behind it, and not just about how the weather is, how their kids are. That stuff is great. That stuff should be included. But if there's something going on in your life, do not be afraid to talk about it. And if you're talking about it and you're afraid to the person that you're telling, then why are you friends with them in the first place? Because if they're going to react in a negative way, show them the door. Because what you'll find, and what I find, is they're probably going to come back with a story that's just the same spot or maybe even worse. So many people have reached out to me, and some people I don't even know, and they're telling me their story like I was their twin brother or twin sister. The confidence they have in me. And the reason that is happening is because I am telling everything that I have, that I've struggled with, that I was afraid and bottled up. I'm telling it to the public, and I'm doing that because you can't bottle it up. And I had that conversation this afternoon even. Bottling up is not healthy. It might be a temporary solution when you're in front of people, but it will backfire in the long run. Have your support system in place. Do not be afraid to talk. If you ever need a listening ear with no judgment, you know how to get a hold of me. But don't be afraid. Be able to let go and let God. Be able to admit to where you might have weaknesses and let Him do His work and let Him guide you through to the courage, the hope, and the joy that you deserve in life. So the last thing I want to say is we are starting to have more of these conversations in the private group of Grace in Your Corner. And all you have to do is go to the Grace in Your Corner Facebook page, and you find the group button, and you just ask for the invite. It's not up and running 100% yet, but my oh my, today we had 3 people respond within 20 minutes. That is a record for us, and we're going to continue to do that. It is a level of comfort that what is said there stays there, and we're helping each other out, figuring it out together, and being vulnerable. If that's something that you want to be a part of, absolutely ask for the invite tonight. I will approve it right when it comes through. And 2 more things that you can be involved in. I didn't plan on this being a Facebook Live. It was just spur of the moment. Next Monday night at my house here in Western Shawnee. Those of you that want to know, I will give you my address. I'll even post it here in a bit. I sent out to those people that have subscribed to the website, I sent out a reminder. You should have got that today of upcoming events. It is our first life group that we're going to have together. And what we're going to do is we're going to form a circle, ask for topics that people want to talk about that's impacting their life in a possible negative way, or someone they love in a negative way. And we're going to discuss on things that we can relate to, things that you've done, maybe some advice that you could provide. And we're going to do it for an hour. We're going to keep it very, very short and sweet. I'm going to keep a close eye on the watch, so we'll have to wrap it up and not get talking like I do on these videos and ramble. But I'm excited for it. So I hope you can come out June 17th, 6 to 7 p.m. At my house in Western Shawnee, just off of Shawnee Mission Parkway. And then the next thing is next Wednesday as well. I'll be doing another Facebook Live. This one's going to be a lot more audience interactive. I'm going to want a lot of you to talk and give me questions. I'm going to start off talking a little bit about just finances and how finances can cause a lot of stress, resentment, burden in the house. And talk about, why is that? What can we do to avoid that? And what are some tricks that we can do that we can put our heads together? When you've been in a tough time, how have you pulled through that financially? Because no one needs the extra added stress of looking at that bank account and knowing that it's tight. So we'll talk about that and how that can lead to some of the other things that we've experienced so far, and it'll be an open question and answer. So if I talk about it for 2 minutes and we go a completely different path, I'll be thrilled. And then we're going to continue with these. The goal for me is I want people that would be willing to do a Facebook Live with me. I want to meet them somewhere. I don't care if there's 4 of us around the table, not just me talking, but multiple people talking, coming out of your comfort zone, finding the courage so we can learn from you as well. I don't have to do all the talking, and just continue to grow as people and being vulnerable. And that's about all I have. I am supposed to be going to get my kids from Uncle Tanner and Aunt Molly's house. They were out playing in the water, so they're probably not wanting me to come anyway, but I need to get over there. So Molly, if you're still on here, I am on my way. This will be posted so people can watch it again. It was, again, longer than I expected, but when I get on a roll, sometimes I can't stop. Thank you to everyone that has joined recently. Thank you for continuing to spread the word. Share that post tonight. I will be drawing for the mugs, and have a wonderful, blessed evening. Bye.